It's Wednesday, May 22. In the headlines, 70 roads identified for Spark program. Wheelchair ramps, the focus for Labor Day 2024. In business news, using investments to create another source of income. Regionally, Barbadian Prime Minister shares a vision for improving trade in the region. And in sports, the InSports Devon Biscuits Primary Schools Athletics National Championship. This is the news on PBC Jamaica. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. The government is set to roll out its Shared Prosperity through Accelerated Improvement to Our Road Network program, the Spark program. Speaking in Parliament on Tuesday, Prime Minister Andrew Holness said 70 roads have been identified following community consultations to ensure the participation of citizens in determining the roads to be targeted within constituencies. The Prime Minister says meetings have been held in 9 constituencies in Kingston, St. Andrew, St. Catherine, Clarendon and St. Elizabeth.
We have received overwhelming feedback from residents, local businesses and stakeholders who have expressed their appreciation for involving them in the decision-making process and addressing their concerns directly.
Mr. Holness says $40 billion has been earmarked for the Spark program. The focus will be on main and secondary roads as well as community thoroughfares.
Based on the existing road schedule, some of which are from the 60s, we would have estimates of the length of roads. They are currently, Madam Speaker, that is the Ministry of Local Government, actively mapping the roads by constituency and have currently mapped approximately 62% of the entire road network. This would include the NWA and parochial roads.
The Prime Minister told the House that the municipal corporations, through the Local Government and Community Development Ministry, are now mapping all their roads.
We are doing more than merely measuring the length and width of roads during the mapping process. We are conducting a ground truthing exercise utilizing the ArcGIS system, where we on-site verify and establish the length and width of the road infrastructure, including the road itself, the surface itself, sidewalks, drainage and culverts, and road furniture, guardrails, stoplights, signage, and the road condition, potholes, breakaways, cracks, and we are geolocating most of these features.
He says the intention of the administration is to put in place a long-term strategy to manage the maintenance of our roads.
The local road component of the Spark program will be designed to have an engineering lifespan depending on location, environmental conditions and usage of between 7 to 15 years. For these park roads and all other roads to be repaired going forward, we will be able to align engineering data with financial allocations.
The program is to be implemented over a 2-year period and works will include pavement resurfacing, sidewalk rehabilitation, drainage improvements, waterline improvements, retaining wall construction, and intersection improvement at strategic locations. Newly minted Minister with Responsibility for Information, Senator Dr. Dana Morris-Dixon, hosted her first post-cabinet press brief at Jamaica House today, May 22. Among the issues discussed, an update on issues surrounding Jamaica's journey to becoming a republic. A report on the progress of the work being done is now available to the public on the Ministry of Legal and Constitutional Affairs website. Portfolio Minister Marlene Malahoo Fort is asking Jamaicans to read the document carefully.
Read and reread, because already I have seen some inaccurate reporting, and I believe it is because of the eagerness to make comments on what is in the report without going through the sections fully.
The report has already been tabled in Parliament. Minister Malahoo Ford says the publication of the report will enable more focused discussions on matters related to Phase 1. For his part, co-chair of the Constitutional Reform Committee, Ambassador Dr. Rocky Mead, says the reformation is being done in phases because of its significance and the complex laws being replaced.
The Constitution outlines certain procedures for things to be changed. And we thought it would be useful to take the most challenging, what we call in really lay language, because it's not written that way in the Constitution, deeply entrenched matters. So those that require several steps to change, including the word of the people by way of referendum. And we said, okay, let's take all of those in Phase 1.
He says the decision was not subjective.
From my perspective, no subjective assessment of an issue to say it is not important or more important. Certainly not from my perspective. And as we heard from the people, it was obvious that that was a good thing to do because there were many issues raised by persons which are equally important.
In Phase 1, the committee is looking at reparation of the Constitution of Jamaica, abolition of the constitutional monarchy, establishment of the Republic of Jamaica, and all matters within the deeply entrenched provisions of the Constitution for which a referendum is required to amend. The Overseas Examinations Commission has sought to provide clarity on what it says is the premature release of information about the discontinuation of some CXC subjects, which has sparked concern among education stakeholders. On Monday, it was announced that the regional exams body would discontinue certifications for agricultural science, double award, and for the mechanical engineering at the CSEC and CAPE levels. That information sparked concerns from Jamaica's Teachers Association, which called for clarity on the move and for CXC and the Education Ministry to outline a plan to cushion possible fallouts for educators and students. The OEC stated on Tuesday that no decision has been made about removing subjects from Jamaica's secondary schools curriculum and that the ministry will meet with stakeholders before the new academic year to ensure a consensus in the best interest of the nation's youth. CXC has advised that particular territories or groups of territories across a region may decide to maintain the subjects as a part of the certification options for exit exams under certain conditions. The building of wheelchair ramps at public and private sector institutions is one of the national areas of focus for Labor Day 2024 under the theme, Ramp Up the Access, Show That You Care, with emphasis on people with disabilities, the elderly, and the vulnerable. And as such, persons are being advised to use the correct specifications when building wheelchair ramps. The call came from Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, Olivia Grange. Denita Rodney tells us more.
Speaking during a recent JRS think tank, Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, Olivia Grange, emphasized that persons must seek building specifications from the relevant authorities before undertaking the installation of wheelchair ramps.
The specification for the ramps would be for every 12 feet, there is a 1 foot incline. So it would be very comfortable for wheelchair access. It also has a 6 feet landing in the middle to further ease the ride. And I think it's important that we get this information out so that persons who are building ramps will know what is required.
Ms. Green shared where the specifications for constructing ramps for both public buildings and schools could be obtained.
Specifications for building the ramps, for example, the Ministry of Education would have specification for building ramps in the schools. The Council for Disabilities, they would have specific information and building ramps. So the various organizations would provide the specification that's needed, and they can be easily reached for those who would want to build ramps, to make sure that they're doing the right thing and they have the right specification for building these.
The minister also advises community leaders and civic groups making plans to paint pedestrian crossing on Labor Day to obtain authorization from the National Works Agency. Reporting for the news on PBCJ, I'm Danita Rodney.
Jamaica's inflation rate in April was 5.3%, which is within the Bank of Jamaica's 4 to 6% target range. But the central bank says the number is lower than the outturn for March. The BOJ says the inflation numbers are expected to decrease, but projected to return to the target range thereafter. Addressing the central bank's quarterly monetary policy press conference on Tuesday, BOJ Governor Richard Biles said inflation is projected to breach the upper end of the target range towards the end of April to June quarter.
The April 2024 outturn was also lower than the bank's most recent forecast, mainly due to faster than projected deceleration in agricultural food inflation. Core inflation, which excludes food and fuel from the Consumer Price Index, was 5.7%, and although elevated, was marginally lower than the outturn recorded in March 2024.
Time now for the business report with Denise Williams.
Good day, everyone, and thank you for joining us on the Business Report. I'm Denise Williams, your guide through the latest happenings in the world of business. Opposition spokesman on investment, trade, and global logistics, Anthony Hilton, recently spoke in a sectoral debate in the House of Representatives earlier this month that Jamaica's current per capita wage is 1.1 million Jamaican dollars. The new minimum wage for a 40-hour week is now $15,000 per week effective June 1, 2024, up from $13,000. That said, we sat down with Rachel Curlew, Assistant Vice President of Investments at Mayberry Investments, for a strategy session on how to use investments to create another source of income. Rachel, we're at a point where people are looking additional income, passive income even better. Do you have any ideas?
Firstly, thanks for having me. And yes, passive income is a great way to earn money on your money with minimal efforts. And fixed income securities provide the best opportunity right now to earn some passive incomes. The MJE bonds actually provide a great opportunity for individuals to earn and capitalize on this passive income strategy.
And MJE is Mayberry Group?
It's a part of the Mayberry Group.
Okay.
It means Mayberry Jamaican Equities. So it's a part of the Mayberry Group of companies. A lot of persons will know Mayberry Investments Limited,
right,
which is one of the leading financial services company in Jamaica. But MJE, on the other hand, no, it's our investment arm that holds our publicly listed equities on the market.
And so you're saying that a good way to earn some passive income is that you buy the bond, and then what happens?
Okay, so you buy the bond. The bonds are paying interest on a quarterly basis. So every 3 months, you're guaranteed a check in your pocket with your returns on your money. Plus, at the end of the bond, you are guaranteed a last check with your entire principal amount. So you're locking into fixed interest rates for depending on the time of the bond, plus you're guaranteeing your principal payment at the end of the bond.
All right. Thank you, Rachel Curlew, Vice President of Investments at Mayberry Investments. During trading for May 21, 2024, the following companies represent the top 3 most active stocks that investors bought and sold on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. Alternative energy provider Wigton Wind Farm Limited ordinary shares with 4,825,461 units, amounting to 32.72% of the entire market volume in terms of equity sales. Toll road operator Trans-Jamaican Highway Limited with 2,247,194 units, amounting to 15.24% of the entire market volume in terms of equity sales. Online educator Edufocal Limited with 1,156,791 units, amounting to 7.84% of the entire market volume in terms of equity sales. Over on the Twin Island Republic of Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange, trading on May 21, 2024, registered a volume of 140,119 shares, crossing the floor of the exchange, valued at $2,059,517 Trinidad and Tobago dollars and 94 cents. Trinidad Cement Limited was the volume leader with 48,852 shares, changing hands for a value of 124,868 Trinidad and Tobago dollars and 30 cents, followed by the West Indian Tobacco Company Limited with a volume of 34,584 shares being traded for 311,529 Trinidad and Tobago dollars and 84 cents. Moving from the money moves of investors, executives, and companies, we turn to the Forex market. On May 21, 2024, the Bank of Jamaica reported that US $43.9 million was bought from Forex traders, while US $53.6 million was sold to Forex traders. Buying directly from the Bank of Jamaica, foreign currency traders sold the US dollar for $156.86 and bought the US dollar for $155.17. The difference between the buy and sell rate was $1.55, which represents a profit for Forex traders for every US dollar traded. Canadian Forex traders earned a trading profit of $1.02 from transactions with the Bank of Jamaica. The Canadian dollar was sold at $115.61 and bought for $114.85. For traders looking at the British pound, they pocketed a profit of $7.64, selling it for $198.70 and buying it for $192.94. For our credit report tip of the day, we are helping you transition from one job, whether through loss or change, to the next. And it is very important to be proactive. Monitor your credit report. Every 30 days, a new report is issued on you. You're tracked from the age of 18 to the rest of your life. So regularly check your credit report for any inaccuracies or signs of identity theft. If you are laid off, if you change jobs, if you migrate, it's a great opportunity for fraudsters to shift other people's debt and problems onto your credit report. You are legally entitled to get a free credit report from the credit bureaus once per year so that you can check up. And with that, we wrap up today's business report. I am Denise Williams. Appreciate your company. Stay well informed, stay ahead of the curve. Until our next update, take care.
Thanks, Denise. In regional news, Barbados has created history, becoming the first country to ever stage the UNCTAD Global Supply Chain Forum. The four-day session, which is being hosted in collaboration with the United Nations Trade and Development, got underway Tuesday morning with several local, regional and international dignitaries attending, including Secretary General of the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, Rebecca Greenspan, and Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, Amina J. Mohammed.
Just over 980 guests from 172 countries are in the island for the first UNCTAD Global Supply Chain Forum. Barbados' Prime Minister Mia Amor-Motley has described the response as overwhelming. She shared her vision for improving trade here in the region. It involves developing the Bridgetown port to allow Barbados to become a trade hub for the South Caribbean.
It is the government's policy to be able to ensure that we beef up all of our logistics capacity and to be able to expand the Bridgetown port over the course of the next decade in order to give the countries of this hemisphere other opportunities in the event of the destruction that can be wrought within less than 24 hours of the infrastructure of our island states. We know that traditionally many go north, Jamaica and Bahamas and Miami, but that is sometimes the epicenter of the hurricane track, as we have come to learn, regrettably. That means, therefore, having the investment in resilience that you, Rebecca, have been speaking about, and that will allow us to work with other partners, be it Panama and others, to ensure that this region is not cut off from the multiple modes of production which more and more are to the east of the Americas.
The event is being held amid concerns about the movement of goods, given recent developments in the Red Sea and the Panama Canal. UNCTAD Secretary General Rebecca Greenspan has underscored the importance of the talks.
By February this year, traffic in the Red Sea and the Panama Canal was cut by half. I have just visited the Panama Canal, precisely to see with my own eyes what was happening. And they are really doing a great job in trying to take away the restriction and face the challenge. But you can see how climate change is really affecting the main roads of the world.
And Ms. Greenspan has made a case for a new approach to globalization.
These disruptions also meant that ships spend more days at sea, emitting 70% more greenhouse gases. But more fundamentally, they meant that our interconnected world became less reliable and far less certain. So, Your Excellencies, a greater, more fair, more sustainable, more inclusive story of globalization must start in the supply chains that we build to tell it.
There has also been a call for multilateralism to be embraced across the global landscape, given the rise of protectionism.
Last year, trade volume fell more than 1%. Compare that to the average growth rate of 2.5% since 2010. Meanwhile, we're witnessing a staggering surge in trade restrictions, with approximately 3,000 measures imposed, and that is almost 3 times the level since 2019. We're seeing geopolitical tensions that are fragmenting global trade. Since the war in Ukraine began, trade between rival blocs has lagged, growing up to 6% slower than trade between blocs themselves.
A new ferry service among Guyana, Barbados, and Trinidad and Tobago is taking shape, and President Dr. Irfan Ali on Tuesday said it will operate out of Parika, Region 3. The company responsible for the new ferry service, Carry Cargo Inc., was incorporated in Guyana in March. The venture is touted as a service meant to facilitate the easier movement of goods, particularly food, and people. President Ali said the government is focused on ramping up food production in this community and many others in the region.
Another big opportunity here is in planting. The bananas, 50 tons of banana. We want to get the bananas into the regional market. And the good thing about here is that we can export directly to CARICOM from here. You don't need to transport to Georgetown and all these places. That is why we are pushing so hard to get the regional ferry, because the regional ferry will operate out of Parika, so that we can have all of these production from these islands integrated into the regional market.
St. Lucia's tourism season is flourishing, marked by a remarkable 11.3% increase in stay-over visitor arrivals during the first quarter of 2024 compared to the same period last year, surpassing the previous record set in 2019.
St. Lucia is experiencing a torrid tourism rebound with stayover visitor arrivals for the first quarter of 2024, surpassing both pre-pandemic levels and last year's numbers. The island welcomed 120,261 stayover visitors from January through March, an 11.3% increase over the same period in 2023, and outpacing the first quarter record of 114,386 set in 2019. According to the St. Lucia Tourism Authority's Visitor Arrival Update Report for March 2024. The United States continued to be St. Lucia's top source market with 65,053 arrivals, up 10% year over year. But the Caribbean market saw the largest percentage gain, soaring 63% to 9,496 arrivals. Overall visitor arrivals, including cruise ships and yacht calls, totaled 524,202 for the quarter, a 9% jump from the first 3 months of 2023. However, yacht arrivals lagged slightly behind the previous high water mark. Stayover arrivals from Canada also posted strong gains versus 4 years, rising 8%. The cruise sector saw nearly 389,000 arrivals in the first 3 months of 2023, an 8% jump compared to the record 2019 numbers. Tourism officials cited robust marketing efforts and increased airlift from the key gateways as driving a strong start to 2024. Tourism is crucial for the small island, and industry insiders hope the promising early data signals the destination could achieve another record-breaking year overall. Joachim Duplessis, HTS News Force.
In sports, on the penultimate day of the InSports Devon Biscuits Primary Schools Athletics National Championship, Nagohead Primary of St. Catherine ended the day with 117 points, while defending champions License of St. Thomas on 88.5 points. Greater Portmore and Half-Way Primary School sits on 3rd and 4th place on 68 and 49 points respectively. 21 finals were contested and 5 records were broken. The championship continues at the National Stadium. PBCJ will have live coverage of the athletic championships today. Reggae Boys captain Andre Blake has yet another endorsement deal, this time with Spectrum Systems Limited, Jamaica's largest distributor of roofing and building products. The latest endorsement follows his sponsorship announcement with Supreme Ventures. Under the deal with Spectrum, Blake will be featured in the company's advertising campaigns and will support its sponsorship endeavors within football. And that's it for the news on PBCJ. You can follow us on our social media platforms at PBCJamaica. Thanks for watching.